Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
Camera guy Glenn was one of the other camera guys while we were doing the pod, and you could pick up that audio.
Okay.
And as I'm pulling into his parking spot, a big pickup truck parks right next to me, and I look over, and who is it? It's Rod Smith.
Oh, wow.
We have a great chat, and then he says, "All right, I've got to get back in the truck. Time to shave."
As for being dirty, canines aren't the only culprits.
Yeah, I'm going to run for mayor or do something like that.
Really, eh? You're going to do that? Well, he sounded very Canadian. Really, eh?
Wolfgang Puck's, what's he pocketing from that?
I guess he's an Atlanta boy, so he's probably...
Is he?
Yeah.
He's not doing that for free.
He's an Austrian guy.
Yeah, you're right. Atlanta born and raised. Well, I mean, he lives
Born
there
and
now.
raised.
He lives in
California. He lives in L.A.
Oh, this will be the secret now. All your listeners will know that I haven't watched anything. And I'm just saying. Go ahead. What a third period. Bob, your thoughts?
You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast.
Guys, great podcast. Number one in Canada. Who wants to sponsor it? Dance.
It's the weekend of the week of February 11th. Hey, Valentine's Day is this week, so here's what you get your lover. You say, listen to this podcast. There's your present. That's all you need. It's good for the environment.
You just introduce them to this podcast.
And then they fall more in love with you.
Is that what you're going to do for your lover?
That's right.
You just took a 5.5, 6 hour car ride with your lover. Any chance you guys listen to the Jay and Dan podcast on the way down or on the way back?
I lived it, so I don't need to listen.
But do you ever listen back to it? I actually did that last week. I listened to the first. I almost never do that.
Yeah, the odd time I do.
And I listened last week, the first half an hour. You know what? This is a pretty good podcast.
Yeah.
This is pretty good entertainment, I have to say.
So, full disclosure, I don't usually listen to podcasts.
Okay.
But for a 5.5 hour drive, I'm like, I need to listen to some podcasts. And since I lived my own, I did need to listen to it. So I listened to ones about murders and cults, and it's all very depressing. I'm like, give me some BPM music.
Are you okay?
I know it's.
Why don't you listen to some lighter stuff? Maybe Conan's podcast or something.
All other podcasts are about murders and cults except this one.
Oh, this is the only one that's not about those things. That's why this was so groundbreaking all those years ago.
That's right.
When we started this podcast, everyone was like, when does the murdery stuff start?
But while listening to these podcasts, there's this one where these people flew to India to try find something. I'm like, where are the budgets coming from on these podcasts? Because we have one staff member.
Yeah.
Christoph.
Staff, how are you, bud?
Terrific. Happy to be here.
I mean, we've always only had one. Well, I guess at Fox we had 6.
Yeah.
But that was at Fox, for every job here at TSN where one person does it, 6 people would do it down there. It doesn't mean they did it any better down there.
And if something happened and we needed to figure out where this person was or solve a mystery, staff's not going to India. We can't pay for that.
Sure, we can. You know how? Olga. She'll front the money.
She's from Russia.
Oh, right. But she's over there-ish. So
yeah. Stop. You're going to India.
Going to India.
Love it.
That sounds fun. Hey, just was texting with our good friend Ben Teller. Don't worry. Dan, he's not coming on the pod.
I'm so happy.
But he did tell me something kind of intriguing. I'd love to throw this out to our listeners if that's okay.
Okay.
So he said he's about to, again, Dan's like, what is he doing? What is his job? We still don't know. But what we do know is he gets to travel a lot with his job. And now he's about to go to Europe for 6 weeks, and he gets to choose his home base out of these 4 amazing cities. Are you ready?
Okay.
So I'd love to get the listeners' feedback. Have them, maybe Danny Wright, our social media guy, can put this up on Twitter. It's a poll. Which city should Ben Teller spend 6 weeks in? Munich, Berlin, Paris, or Amsterdam? Munich, Berlin, Paris, or Amsterdam? I have to say, all of those cities are amazing. You really can't make a wrong choice, but they're all very different.
I'd go Amsterdam all day, every day.
So that seems like an obvious answer, right? Yeah. Like, who wouldn't want to live there? And it's so beautiful, and the people are so nice. They speak amazing English. But you could die. Like, there's a very, very good chance that if you were in Amsterdam for 6 weeks, that I know for me, if I was there alone for 6 weeks, there's probably a 78% chance that I'm dying there.
I may die in Orno any day.
That's
so
true,
I don't
but
think it really matters.
I think you have a greater chance of dying in Amsterdam. Paris would be really cool.
Really expensive, though, right?
But I assume that they're footing the bill for him to stay, and I assume they're giving him a per diem. So I don't. Let's take expense out of it. Okay. Paris would be good, and Berlin is cool. Munich, you'd just be drinking beer. You'd come back kind of fat.
So many questions. What is he doing? Why does he not have to be in a specific city?
I think I'm just a penis guy.
Well, I think it's part of the job. You have to have some sort of home base, so he gets to choose out of, because these are like big hubs. So maybe it's like, okay, we need to be able to send you somewhere where it's easy to fly to or something.
Wasn't he working for a gym or a yoga place or something?
Stoff, do you remember what it was? It was something.
Wasn't he undercover with the CIA or something to that extent?
No, he was dating a girl that was undercover.
Right.
Sure he was.
Either way, whatever he's doing it over in Europe. So, yeah, Amsterdam seems like a good choice for him. I think the ladies are easy there.
But he will not take advantage of everything the city has to offer. He'll be like, I had one beer.
Well, that's up to him, but at least the opportunity is there. The red light district, all that amazing art. That could be all Ben Teller's. Why don't you go over there with him? That would be a podcast.
But in any of these cities, he's going to get swindled by someone for sure.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah, he's probably going to end up, gosh, who knows?
He'll go on.
You know what? You know the movie Taken? That'll be Ben.
He'll go on like 4 dates with someone, and then guess what, guys? I discovered she was a dog.
And then I discovered I'm into dogs. Anyway,
my erections have returned.
That dog and I are now married. I married a Dutch dog. Her name, Dutch. At least I think it's a her. Still figuring everything out down there.
I'm so happy.
So that's what Ben will do. For sure in Amsterdam, there's like dog sex dens for sure.
So the Westminster Dog Show is like, Ben's into that right now.
Ben's probably there, front row, just a massive boner. He's wearing like khakis and he's got like pitching a tent. The judges are like, sir. Yeah, Bichon Frise.
It has changed my life.
Okay. Do you know dog stuff? Not in that way.
Not as well as Ben does. I own a dog.
So this came up in our show last night because the dog show started, and I guess Bichon Frise or Frise won last year, and I said Bichon Frise, and the producer Tim said, no, it's Frise. I came off the set after the show, and everyone in our social media department said, no, you said it. I said it right.
I don't think he did. I do think it's Frise. But let's send it out to Ben Teller. Ben?
I think I'm just a penis guy.
I've always heard Frise, but I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't even know what they look like.
If there was a dog lineup, I could not pick out one of those dogs.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what a Bichon Frise or Frise looks like at all. I have no clue.
I had mutts. They just were a dog.
Yeah, just everything.
Yeah, they came from the pound.
Oh, speaking of, Stoff did a little drop there, producer Tim drop. I tried to convince producer Tim to do a story time, taking it old school, back to the original pod. No chance. Even though he listens faithfully every week to this podcast. Mm-hmm. You'd think he'd want to give back a little bit.
He's a big podcast guy. He listens to all the murders and cults.
We have another new drop, I believe, and this is exciting. And I personally think this is going to be one of our most popular drops ever. Here it is.
Dan, the dirty old man, washed his face in the frying pan. He combed his hair with a leg of chair. Dan, the dirty old man.
What is that from?
Dan, the dirty old man.
Where did you find that? What's that from?
I can't reveal my sources.
Okay.
Let's just say it's old. I don't know if you could tell by the audio quality.
Got a nice tweet from Tom Strangeward.
And it sounds made up.
Said,
I'm Tom Strangewood. That's doesn't sound like a... Yeah, Strangewood. My family's English. The Strangers married the Wards.
Pulled a TSN O'Toole this weekend and checked out of a hotel by just leaving the building without saying anything to anyone. It's exhilarating, and it's now how I leave hotels.
It's very, very... it's very rude to the staff of the hotel because they're trying to turn rooms over. So if you tell them you're leaving, they're like, great, okay, we're trying to check someone else in. We'll get that cleaned up. We'll get someone... You're making their life more difficult.
Nah.
They just...
Dan, the dirty old man.
I had no... It's amazing because I've been traveling with you for almost 20 years, and I had no idea you did that until last year. I guess I'd never seen you check out before.
Well, I was at a hotel this weekend, and I think they must have known I was leaving because I went to the desk, and they had a sweater that I wanted. I bought a hotel from the sweater.
Whoa, wait, I don't understand. What do you mean they must have known you were leaving?
Because they said, what room are you in? And I said, 518. And they said, yeah, that person's checked out. I'm like, that's me. I'm not checked out. They said, well, you can't get back in your room. I'm like, well, my stuff's still in there. I said, can you just throw that sweater after I go try it on in the room on my bill? She's like, okay, here's a card, I guess, and let me back in the room to get my stuff. And then I assume she knew I was leaving because she watched me leave.
But they locked you out of your room?
Because I was having breakfast. I'm like, I'm not carting my stuff down. My stuff can sit in my room for 20 minutes.
Right. But they thought you had checked out.
Yes.
Well, why did they think that?
Because it was past noon.
Okay.
They just assume everyone's gone. And
yeah, I like how you buried the lead on that story. That was hilarious. Okay. All right. So afternoon. Yeah.
The hotel I stayed in was a former YMCA. But you can attest to the fact that it's a nice hotel.
Yeah. No. Okay. I'm laughing just because the way that sounded.
I know.
But it's a very nice hotel. Well, and it's the epicenter of hipsterdom.
Yeah.
In the United States. It's the Ace Hotel chain. They have them in New York, L.A., Portland, Seattle, New Orleans.
And do they buy all old buildings or just...
Generally, that's exactly what they do. They find an old building, they gut it, and then they hipsterfy it.
I drove by 3 times. I'm like, there's no hotel here. That's a post office or something. Finally, I pull up. I'm like, do you know where a hotel is? He's like, right here.
Oh, man, that's awesome. And the wait staff, I understand, were pretty fascinating.
Well, you mentioned the epicenter of hipsterdom. I counted at least 4 mullets. This wasn't someone with just like long hair at the back, like hockey hair. This was shaved on the sides into a mullet where it would be on a Stranger Danger commercial.
This isn't like someone trying to be ironic. This isn't someone who had a mullet for the last 40 years and just kept that hairstyle. They really this is what they feel looks good now.
And every staff member, there was no dress code. Every staff member tried to top the other person with a freakier outfit.
I love it.
One waiter was wearing bike shorts.
Hey, who wants to?
Are you sure it wasn't a courier who just wandered in?
That's what I thought, but he was there all the time. Carrying things.
Well, he's probably delivering packages and just hanging and talking to people. No. Hey, it's old Bike Shorts Jim. He's back at the Y.
Another gentleman who served me breakfast, he was wearing a dress.
Yeah.
It looked comfy.
Maybe Ben will try that in Amsterdam. A dress seems like it does seem like it would be comfy, but like a kilt,
well, it's perfect airflow.
Yeah, but like a kilt, I feel like I would always wear it sans undies.
Yeah, it was long. It was to the floor.
Right. So you never wear underwear under that thing, and then you're just everything's breathing the way it was meant to be.
And the hipsters not overjoyed to serve you.
Yeah.
Like you pony up to the bar and you're like, "Can I get a drink?" They're like, "Yeah, what do you want?"
Well, that's kind of I guess that's the detached nature of hipsterdom. Maybe you got to get to know them a little bit. But make a nice drink, I bet, at the Ace Hotel.
Delicious, yep.
Did you see, I bet you Malkin was hanging around there.
No, they were, Pens were out of town.
Oh, they were on the road, yeah.
Beautiful town, very odd layout.
Mm-hmm.
Built on the side of a hill around 3 rivers. So everywhere you go, you think you're going I'm going the opposite way from my hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you get there.
In my second book, I detailed how nearly killed my friend because we couldn't find an exit. Because the streets made no sense.
That's exactly. Yeah, the GPS, turn it off.
Yeah, forget about that.
Because you come up to an intersection, and there's 47 options. And you're like, do I take that? But that one's going down. That one's going up. That one's going... Anyway.
47 options. The Dan O'Toole story.
I went to...
Road trip.
Permante's Brothers?
Permanente Brothers, yeah. The sandwiches with French fries in them.
Yeah. So I went in, and I met the real-life Sailor Jerry. Not the guy that the booze was named after, but I'm like, I'll get a spiced rum. I'm like, do you have Sailor Jerry? He goes, no. The only Sailor Jerry here is me. I'm like, well? He goes, yeah. I served in the Navy. My name's Jerry. And he had a tattoo of a boat on his arm.
Turn around and run out of there instantly. I would not engage with that guy.
No, he was
for
good.
A second.
I said, what do I get? He said, get the Capicola.
Get the gabagool. Get the gabagool sandwich.
And woke up today craving that sandwich.
They are very tasty sandwiches. That's what Pittsburgh's known for. I don't know food-wise what else they're known for.
Went to the Andy Warhol Museum. And
I forgot to ask you about that. How was that?
It was good. My lady friend always makes fun of the speed in which I go through museums. I'm like, I got it, the gist of it.
You fly through.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you for that, because is there anything more physically exhausting than walking in an art museum? Why is it that exhausts you physically? Isn't that true, though? Like, you're in there for an hour and a half, and all of a sudden you're like, I got to take a 4-hour nap. I don't know what it is about art museums. I like them, but I'm tired after them. They take a lot out of me.
It's a lot of looking.
Yeah. A lot of observing, taking it in, reflecting. But that's not something you're generally big on.
He went through a lot of phases.
Yeah. Interesting guy.
And is it known, because there's no writings about this there, but did he consume a lot of drugs?
Actually, I'm not really sure. I don't think it was I don't think he was like a cocaine guy or anything. I think he might
like psychedelics.
I don't even know if he did that stuff. He might have done like a lot of like poppers, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff, like amphetamines and things like that. That's my impression, but I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully we get an Andy Warhol expert on. We should have like someone from the Andy Warhol Museum on the show. Just talk it out. And then maybe have that Sailor Jerry guy. And then maybe have bike shorts. Have an all Pittsburgh episode of the pod next week.
Forgot to mention the valet at the Ace Hotel. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Permanente Brothers. He's like, I'm like, what's that mean? He goes, yeah, I think it's overrated.
All right.
So I came back. I'm like, hey, I got right out of the car. I'm like, no, it is not.
It is rated perfectly.
And he said, you know what? I'm going to go back.
He said that.
He said
He
that to
said,
me.
"Oh, you know what? You've convinced me. Wow, you're changing the lives of Pittsburghians. What's a person who lives in Pittsburgh? Pittsburghite? Pittsburghians? Nothing.
Pittsburgher?
Pittsburgher. Yeah. I'm a Pittsburgher. Sid Crosby's a Pittsburgher. Geno Malkin's a Pittsburgher.
And the drive to Pittsburgh from Toronto,
Yeah. That seems too long.
you cross the border, you see Buffalo, then you don't see anything until you get to Pittsburgh.
I don't like the idea of it at all. Why don't you just fly that one? It's anything over 4 hours.
Yeah, I might reconsider that. Yeah, 4 hours.
That seems reasonable. Actually, 5 hours to Montreal, that's my limit. Because that's an easy drive, right? 401, boom.
I've already trimmed an hour off that drive because I live on the east
Yeah,
side.
that's true. You're practically there. You're practically on the border of Quebec.
Hey, do we mention who our guest is going to be?
I think Stoff is giving him a shout right now.
Canadian ski legend Manny Osborne-Paradis, who broke his femur at the start of the year in training. We're going to talk to him about that. And selfishly, I'm having him on talk about that injury, and also because I just started skiing. He's going to give me some tips, I hope.
And you're like, you're a natural. The first time you tried it, you just were whipping down the hill.
I'm all in. And if you're buying skis, now's the time, because the guys at Sport Check said, we already got the summer stuff in.
Perfect. Well, maybe Manny could get you a deal at Sport Check.
I don't know. Manny, do you get deals at Sport Check?
I don't think I do get deals at Sport Check.
I feel like everyone on the Canadian ski team should get deals at Sport Check.
I think you're totally right, actually. I definitely agree.
How many pairs of skis right now do you own?
Ooh, me personally, like 6 or 7, but that's not a true count because my serviceman who works for the ski company, he probably has another 40 to 50 kicking around that are my skis, but, they can take back at any time. They're on loan.
Okay, so did I get them fitted right? My skis today, they came up to my nose. Is that correct?
I would think so. I can't tell you the exact height that they need to be for public skiing, to be honest. I know all these years trying to be elite at something, you lose the mediocre quality of your sport.
Dan's definitely holding up that side of it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to say that you were a medium-style skier.
No, I've skied once. I've skied once, and that was last week.
Oh, last week. Where'd you go?
Little hill by the name of Brimacombe. It's a little bunny hill in Ontario.
You got to start somewhere, Manny. You know that.
Okay, so you're on a green run, and how'd you do?
I didn't fall. No problem.
You didn't fall once?
No, the only problem I have is with the part that you mastered is the very steep portion at the start of a run where I'm like terrified. I'm like, if I start going down, I'm dead.
But I'm baffled by this. You didn't fall once your first time skiing? That's like unheard of. Are you like, maybe you're a natural. Maybe you'll be a crazy Canuck. Late in life, though.
Late in life.
I've always thought that if you're not falling, you're not learning. But maybe I'm just not a natural either.
Okay, we've got to get into your fall. Happened at the start of the year. You were training. Take us through this injury.
It's been a nasty one. It happened at Lake Louise, and it was the first training run of the first run of this season. So I probably only got like 20 turns into my season this year, which is a lot of skiing and lead up of summer training and time at the gym for about 20 turns of a season. But it happened, and I you know what? I just went out a little too far on one turn. It's the first training run, and it was just a bit soft out there and fell over. No big deal other than I was going just over 100 kilometers an hour, and there wasn't anywhere to fall. It was just a net. So I hit the net and kind of tumbled through. I thought maybe I could ski up on it. I was trying to get the right angle. It's called an A net, and it's attached to poles, and it's up like pretty high, like 20, 30 feet up. So, and it's pretty stiff tension. So I thought, if I can get the ski to grab, sometimes you can just ski up on the net, then you don't fall as hard. But by doing that and not having enough pressure to kind of get the ski going down the hill, I just went straight in with full weight on my skis. And when you have full weight on your skis, your bindings don't release. So I kind of tumbled with my skis into the net. And I was laying there, and I heard one of my coaches, he yelled, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I totally know my leg is broken."
Really?
And
could you feel the pain? Like, was it devastating pain at the time?
Right away, you're kind of like, as I was falling, I was like, I've never had a broken leg, but I know that my leg is broken. And, you keep falling, you're tumbling. And then I was like, well, you never know. And then I kind of reached for it, and I was like, it hurts. So my leg must be broken. And then I looked down, and because my ski was still attached, it was pushing my leg to the ground. But the rest of my leg was moving off the ground. And I was like, okay, so for sure if it's this detached, it's got to be broken. So that's how I kind of knew it. The pain hadn't quite sunk in yet, but it was just my downhill suit kind of and my skin.
It was a
holding it all
visual
together.
confirmation for you.
Absolutely. You did not need to be a doctor out there to know.
So when you start and then you get into this crazy sport, and are you prepared for accidents? Do they tell you, are you supposed to let your body go limp? You said you were thinking as you're falling, as you're tumbling, what you're going to do. What are you supposed to do?
In that situation, I don't really know. Maybe just not fall, but normally, limp is the best. I mean, we always joke. It's not really a joke, but we're like, the safest way to fall is to get knocked out first.
Oh, wow.
It's, like in the world of concussions, maybe that's not the safest way anymore, but generally your body and your limbs are okay. This was like me trying to get out of a fall. Sometimes you're falling down the hill at high speeds, and you try and stand up too early. Like just go for the ride. Just go for a fall. And we wear these airbags now. They've got an algorithm in it it's all these. We wear a back brace, and in the back brace are these air cartridges, and it's super smarter than all of us. And it's got an algorithm in it, knows before you fall, before you hit the ground, and it actually blows the airbag around your torso, your ribs, around your neck, and everything. And that's really helpful. Other than for your lower extremities, but it's so you're like, okay, if you're going for a tumble, like you kind of know that if you just go limp, like you don't have to worry so much about your ribs and your back as much anymore, because that's got an airbag wrapped around it.
That sounds like something from the future.
It does.
It definitely is something from the future. It derived from MotoGP, and then this company Dainese that most of the guys ski with, they had it for MotoGP, where when you left your bike, the airbag would explode, and they just used the algorithms and figured out kind of the same technology for skiing, because obviously there's no machine to leave, but they could figure out with the G-forces and stuff just before you would hit the ground, and there's GPS and all that stuff in the airbag, and they, after every run you do all winter, they take that information that the airbag read, and they put it into the computer, and they just get smarter and smarter every run.
Now, man, you're going so fast down the hill. What's your top speed? Like, what do you hit?
Depends 161 is my top
160.
speed.
Oh my God! So when you're going down, what's going through your head? Because I would just be saying, oh.
I can tell you that you definitely say that a lot of the time. As a side note, I get more scared for guys that like do luge and stuff because we can always slow down. Like when you get scared, you slow down. It's not going to make you great, and you're probably not going to have a career for that long. But if you wanted to slow down, you definitely could. You can just put a little slide in.
Just do a snowplow all the way down.
Totally. But the part that gets me when we're going fast is how loud it is in your helmet. And that scares me. Like once you get over 135, it's hard to think because it's so loud in your helmet, and that's when you're kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do this. Or around the 150, 155, we don't have big tips like the tips that you were skiing on at whatever hill you told me.
Brimacombe,
yep. Name. Yeah,
it's his backyard, actually.
Sorry, the tips that you're skiing on in your backyard, we have like pretty low profile tips, and even then at that speed, the tips start lifting off. So when you want to dig the ski in to start a turn, it takes like that split second longer, and that always makes your heart skip a beat. You're like, oh no, I'm gonna just fall, and then all of a sudden the skis jumped, and that's still, I've never really gotten over that feeling. Like that every time it's going to happen, and then when it happens, it always makes your heart skip a beat.
Manny, you've been 4 Olympics you've competed in, is that right?
Yeah, 4. Uh-huh.
So let's go through the cities. You did Turin, Italy was your first, and then Vancouver, of course, and then maybe the most exciting city in the world, Sochi, Russia, and then you did Pyeongchang, South Korea. So out of all those experiences, taking results out of it, just your experience there, the city, the people around you, what was your favorite experience? I have to imagine, because you are a North Vancouver guy, that Vancouver was number 1.
Yeah, Vancouver for sure was number 1. When I made the Torino Olympic team, I was just kind of a young punk, skiing because it was easier to pick up chicks if you skied fast, like I didn't have that hit of moves, and I noticed that the guys that all ski fast seemed to go home with girls, and I thought, well, that's something that I can probably aspire to do, and it worked out, and all of a sudden I was like on an Olympic team. I thought, well, that's cool, but I didn't really I didn't really get to experience the Olympics there. We just kind of came in. I made the team a couple of races before because I was only 19, I believe, there. I turned 20 and for ski racing, that's really young to be at an Olympic Games in our sport. So when I went to Vancouver, that was an experience that like I'll forever cherish. Coming into it, I was like ranked 4th in the world, and I was skiing really well, and everything about it was good. I guess probably the one thing that I screwed up on right away is that I think we had a press conference when we first arrived, and I was pretty nervous, and we had just finished this training camp at Panorama, and I came in, and it was like we were tucked away, and there was like nobody around. And then the first thing, we hit this big press conference in Yaletown, and somebody said, "Do you think you can win?" And I was like, yeah, obviously I think I can win. And then that was like the front page of the newspaper the next day, is that, like I said, Manny Osborne-Paradis thinks he can win. And I was like, I guess coming in as a dark horse,
nothing wrong with being confident. Now,
but
a question.
It was great.
Now, a question you've probably been asked before. Why do you do it? Because we just mentioned your injury, the danger of the sport, or is it a combination? Is it the adrenaline? Is it the community? Is it the sport? Is it a collection of things, or is there one thing that stands out that makes you do it the most?
I love so many aspects of skiing. I love the community. I love that it's a family sport. I love that I was able to do it with my grandpa and my mom, and I could share with my daughter. I love skiing with my friends and the après ski, and that it's like a weekend thing that you go do, and so many people can do it with you, and all of that. And that just stemmed into my ski racing. I mean, I'm a competitive guy, but I love the camaraderie with all the other athletes and the tour from stop to stop. And it's just a lot of fun. And, you know, like when I'm sitting in the hospital and I've got a broken leg, or when I blew my knee, or when you blow on your back, or whatever it is with multiple injuries, so I have so many buddies that come in that aren't ski racers that are like, oh yeah, I broke my leg at this point, or I blew my knee. And you start thinking like, well, with my personality, I probably would have done all these or had all these injuries anyways, because I would have left my office job and then, you know, mountain biked on the weekend and wanted to be a pro mountain biker, but, you know, Saturday, Sunday, and probably broken my leg as well. So, you know, maybe trying to excel at one sport has actually kept me safer in the long run. So, and you know, and getting to compete for your country while doing it. So I'm really not worried about the injuries at all. I feel like it comes par for the course, and it's there's probably a lot of really good skiers that were better than me coming up as I was a kid that were worried about injuries, and they quit, and they gave me the chance to be good. So so by me putting those fears aside, I got the opportunities.
And I liked what you said, Manny. You're so right. When I tell people to get into skiing, it's always the same thing. Especially if you have a family, it's the perfect family sport, because when the kids are little, it's such a fun sport and everyone can do it together. And then when they become too cool to hang out with your parents, you can still be on the same hill together. You just meet for lunch or après ski, as you mentioned. You're still all kind of contained on the hill there, so that's what makes it a great family sport.
Honey, Daddy will be at the bar.
Yeah, that's where I'll go straight to.
Hey, well, you know, I mean, we all grew up before cell phones. I mean, that's what you did. Like,
yeah.
I remember skiing. I couldn't walk to school, like elementary school, grade 6, whatever, by myself. But for some reason, my mom at like 8:15 on the weekend would drop me off at the bottom of the hill in Whistler and say, "Hey, see you at 3:30 at the bar." And you're like, sweet. And you know, the amount of tree wells my friends and I got stuck in, or cliffs that we would jump, or like just like the chaos. And then you just see your parents at the bar, and they'd be 3 beers deep, and they're like, "How was your day?" And you say, "It was okay." You know.
Describe the adrenaline or what you're feeling when you're at the top of the mountain ready to start a run.
Oh man, it's a pretty cool feeling. I think it's hard to describe, because especially in downhill, it's a culmination of the whole week trying to piece together your run and from your training runs and all the video work you've done, and just like how good your legs can feel after the training and the travel to whatever location you're at, and then just being at the top and trying to be like 100% confident in your game plan, because you only have a 2-minute execution, and because it's a gravity given sport, it's like if you make one bad turn, you know, you can lose the whole race. So it's really just figuring out that fine line of tactics and grit, and figuring out how much risk you want to take and where the risk is. And you know, in the start, I've you know, it depends. It totally depends. There's some races you're so confident and you can do no wrong, and then there's other races where like there's a 60-meter jump at the second gate, and you really just, like, you don't really want to do it. And you're just kind of talking yourself into the fact that that's a good idea. And you know, everybody has a bad day at the office, and this is just your bad day. And you know, you just you do whatever you can to kind of get through it. But always at the bottom, it was always fun. It was always worth it. And you know, it's Bodie Miller once told me, we were at the top of Kitzbühel, and I was having a rough go. I was not that confident in the weather conditions or anything. And he just said, you know, you train your whole life every day in and out to try and be the best in the world. And finally you get a place that you can showcase that you really are that good. And I remember kind of taking that saying by the balls and saying, hey, listen, like this is totally like the reason why I train, and like just more so like having the purpose in training. So when the races were there, just had the confidence that this is going to be more fun than it is going to be treacherous.
You mentioned the mindset. Your teammate, Eric Gay, after seeing your accident in training, he retired. That's how did he come and tell you that? Did you find this out after hearing interviews?
Well, I was on fentanyl and ketamine, so he could have told me, but I don't think I would remember. When I was up there flying with like purple elephants and stuff, like maybe he came through, but he definitely told me the next day when I was back to it. But I kind of had been sensing it. He was my roommate in Zermatt in Switzerland like a month before, and then we were in Nikiska, and he was skiing well, but he wasn't skiing with great intent. And, it's got to be hard. He has a newborn at home, and, being injured is a battle in itself. And we had Broderick Thompson, another teammate, go down the week before, and he had a nasty crash and blew his whole knee apart. And I think we were all kind of getting over that. And then being at Nikiska for the first time, too, David Poisson, a French skier, last year, he passed away there. So we were kind of dealing with those emotions, too. And I think it was pretty tough, when you've got 4 kids at home and you're nearing the end of your career. And, I was definitely probably the crash that broke the camel's back. And I'm glad that if he felt like that, he walked away. He had always, we had talks about there was a guy, Benny Reich, who was really good at skiing, and he trained the whole summer and then walked away after the first race. And there's been other athletes to do that. And I think, it takes some time in the summer to really see if you have it or if you've kind of lost that fire, because you really need that edge, whatever that je ne sais pas is, just to actually be a dominant factor. And there's no point in doing this. At our age now, like we always say, if you're outside the top 30 in the world, and you're over 30, quit. And if you're not going to win races, with a career like Eric's had, he doesn't want to be there.
Right. Before we let you go, we can't let you go without asking about Lindsey Vonn, your thoughts on her retirement.
Hey, I thought that was a pretty awesome run she had at World Champs. I didn't think she had it in her, and the fact that she did, I was jazzed. I was pumped. It's pretty cool to see just how great of a competitor she is. And Axel Lundspindel retired the day before and also was on the podium with a second. And these two racers are phenomenons. And it's just cool to see that through thick and thin, they've been able to jump on the podium. And I think it really inspires me as well. Like, these injuries are tough. And everybody, I go to a restaurant and the waiter comes over all the time. They're, we're sorry to hear that your career ended because of your injury. And I'm like thinking, what? Like, what are you talking about?
It's probably the same waiter Dan had at the Ace Hotel in Pittsburgh. He was very mean when Dan ordered a drink. So I have a feeling.
Dan, well, that Ace Hotel. Remind me not to go there while being injured. I don't need to be a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, I think it's just she's a great competitor, and she's done a lot for the sport. And I think as far as ski racing goes, with gender equality, prize money is the same, and sponsorships are generally the same on both circuits. And she's done a ton to promote the women's side, and I think it's been really great to see.
Well, Manny, this has been a great chat. We're glad you're so positive, and that we're going to see you back on the hill next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. Oh, hey, and on a side note,
yep.
My mom, when I got out of the hospital, my mom was helping unpack my bags, and I was like, thanks. I'm like just hurtled down, like I got hydromorphine drugs and whatever. And she went and threw out my downhill suit that was cut off me when I crashed. And I was like, Mom, you can't throw that out. Go get that out of the garbage. Like, this is something you can't throw out. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's cut. It's got blood all over it. And I was like, yeah, but this is the downhill suit that made Eric Gay retire. This is an iconic piece of clothing.
Should be in a museum.
Yeah,
somewhere.
frame it and give it to Eric.
Absolutely. Like, here you go, Eric. Like, as a reminder.
Just in case he decides to come back, he can look at it.
Exactly.
Manny, we really appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a good night.
You too, Manny. Thank you.
That's
Bye.
Manny Osborne-Paradis, Canadian skiing legend. I can't understand the mindset standing at the top of the hill. And
I still can't believe you didn't fall coming down the hill. I don't get it.
Hey, want to roll up the rim?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. We got, you got Timmy's for us, and it's time to roll up the rim. And
give me a rimmer, and that's it.
Please play again.
Stoff, you got to roll yours up, too.
Please rim again.
I got to please play again as well.
We'll rim another day.
What a guy. Seriously, you break your leg, he's very positive. That's
He
awesome.
is. He's positive. Not
He's
just
always
that,
positive.
though. I mean, he had a way more devastating injury in 2011. That's the crazy injury he had in France. And that's what I think he was talking about. You know, so he's obviously had a history of injuries over his career. And you're right. The fact that he's just accepting the fact that injuries are part of his sport, and he was going to get injured at some point, and he's going to come back and compete again. Do you think the people at Tim Hortons question whether it was a good idea to do this rim promotion just because of the whole, rimming connotation to it?
Nah, I don't think they.
That had to come up.
Maybe it's an incentive.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point, Stoff.
Manny,
Maybe that was part of the reason they did it.
Manny mentioned après skiing, so having beverages. There's no liquor license at the ski like Matt.
Oh, you gotta ski somewhere different then. That's no good.
Or
That's a part of the fun. That's skiing. You could bring a flask, I guess.
I don't know.
Why don't you just have a case of beer hidden by the chairlift, and then crack it open.
Nothing to see here, guys.
Guys, no big deal. Just gonna walk over here by the chairlift. Whoop, pop the beer. None for you. I'm Toolsy. I never fall down the hill.
Fresh powder tomorrow because we're getting a snowstorm again in Toronto. And yes, I know I said winter was over.
I can't believe you said that.
Since I said that, we've had like 37 storms.
That's your fault.
There have been so many bus cancellations in the past 3 weeks. More than I ever had my entire school career.
Dan, where's Burl Creek? It's near Lake Simcoe. Have you ever been there?
No, what's that?
That's where the Rolling Stones are playing their only Canadian date. The Burl Creek Event Ground. Stuff. Have you been there?
No, but I heard about this. I believe we're giving some tickets away on 1050.
Well, I think it's a Bell Media thing. Like Bell Media is the concert promoter.
Was this in the Barrie area, I believe? Or
yeah.
Medonte,
Well, it says Lake Simcoe, so yes, very close to Barrie. Yep, very close. So Toolsy will be there introducing the band on stage.
So I assume the Stones will stay in Toronto, then they're going to take them up by helicopter or something?
No chance. They stay in Barrie at a rented cottage, and not a nice one.
Maybe I'll Airbnb my place to them.
That's a good idea, Stuff. You should.
Make some
You,
coin.
Ronnie Wood, Charlie, hanging out, listening to jazz. Keith in the corner, just wired on H.
No, he's
back on the junk.
He's off everything, isn't he?
No, he's getting back on it because Toronto's where he was arrested back in like the 70s or early 80s, right? So just only stands to reason that all his demons will come back to haunt him when he returns. And then Nick will just be hanging out with 6 or 7 beautiful babes. It's going to be a great night at Stoff's.
Have they played here since Sarsstock? They must have.
I don't know.
I saw them at Sarsstock.
I saw him at that desert trip.
Oh, yeah, the Old Cella.
Old Cella. Man, it was awesome. God, they were great. They were so good. I was shocked. But I was like, I had such a good vantage point. And I was also on ketamine at the time. No, I wasn't. I've never done that stuff. Hey, well, this has been a blast. What a great, another great podcast. Again, the only podcast on the iHeartRadio app and the Apple Podcast app that isn't about murder or bribery
or cults.
The only one.
I did find what Keith Richards got arrested for.
Let's hear it.
heroin possession.
Yeah, so
There you go.
get ready for that to happen again at Burles Creek.
22 grams of heroin.
Yeah, that's nothing. How's he alive?
I don't know. He looks like he's dead.
He does, but he keeps going, man. He keeps going. And that's going to be you, Toolsy, at that age. You'll be like, yikes. You'll be like, you.
That's going to be me in 3 years. Well, we better go talk to our good friend Mike Garofolo for the TV show.
We should have him on the podcast sometime.
Yes.
Get into a little more in-depth discussion with him. He's
Seen
our
as
NFL reporter.
Peter Schrager is just...
Well, I think Peter would come on the podcast, but his stupid show, Good Morning Football, he has to get up at like 1 a.m. for it. And he's got a kid, and we're not in, it doesn't work out timing-wise. But I know a lot of people would love to have him back on. I know we would. We'd love them.
He hasn't been on in years, literally.
Well, since we left Fox, which is a year and a half ago. Seems like it was 10 years ago. It's only a year and a half. Yeah, we should definitely have him on. And we're working on some other fun stuff, so keep listening, and we're going to
remember,
say so long, folks.
Press play on this. This is the only Valentine's gift you need to deliver, this podcast. You're welcome.